What's up, my wizards? It's Dev from Mtg. You know, we like magic, all that stuff. And we got some more of them sweet Dominaria previews to show off today. We got some new art, as usual, plus we got a cycle of standard playable lands, looks like to me, plus at least one new commander that I'm, like, really stoked about. So let's get to it. Well, first of all, the new art, as usual. We got art for Oath of Teferi, Baird, Steward of Argive, and Grun the Lonely King today. Now, Grun is obviously a fun card for all the Timmies out there that want to just kill and one attack stuff. It's totally possible to do that. You can swing for 20 and kill with this thing, even if you have nothing else out. Also, works pretty well with Exalted and Commander and stuff. Grun looks pretty fun, and I like this art. This art sort of looks like Alliances or even Ice Age art to me. Like, there's something that looks like it calls back to the earlier days of Magic in Grun's art, and I like that a lot. Also, check out the rarity on Grun. This thing is uncommon. And then, obviously, we have seen uncommon, legendary creatures in this set. That's part of the whole steez of the set. But, like, this is one of the cooler ones to see it uncommon. I fully expected this to fill out a rare slot, if not a mythic rare slot, and they've made it uncommon. That's really cool, super accessible, and it's going to be easy to make him, your standard commander. If you're building a Brawl deck, or if you're just building a budget commander deck. You can probably pick up a couple of these for really, really cheap. That's cool. Same thing with Baird. This card has no business being uncommon, but it's somehow uncommon. That's awesome. Baird's actually a really cool piece for like a standard Death and Taxes deck if you want to try to brew one of those up. There's Cabal, there's some stuff in this format that can sort of jive with a Death and Taxes theme. So interesting to try to put that together. And I actually don't think the card's terrible in its own right. It dodges most red removal, other than like cut ribbons and boosted harness lightnings, but still dodges most red removal. And if you get it down on the play against red, they can't attack with their Hazoret on turn 4 when they play it. They have to wait till turn 5 or until they get their 5th land. So that could actually be really important. Glorybringer can't swing right away, even though it has haste too if they play it on curve. So I think this actually may have some standard implications, although I'm a little disappointed that it doesn't have, it's not a knight. It's randomly a soldier. But whatever, I'll take it. The card looks like it could make waves. And Oath of Teferi, I really like this art. It looks like he's just like, hey, what's up? In any case, a lot of discussion about Oath, and I've already talked about it in the leak video, but I'll talk a little bit more about it here. I think this card might be okay. It's always going to do something the turn it comes into play, and its secondary ability, being able to activate Planeswalkers twice, is pretty disgusting, especially if you go Planeswalker turn 4, and then this on turn 5, that seems pretty great. And Standard is more or less devoid of these, flicker or blink effects. And this isn't all the way the kind of blink effect that we usually like to see. You have to wait till EOT for the thing you're blinking to come back. But it's still a blink effect in Standard, and there's plenty of stuff we can do for that, or with that. And I actually don't mind that it costs 5 mana. I know that's so much, but, it gives you time to set up. You could, play something for 3 or 4 mana that you really want to flicker, has a good enter the battlefield effect or something. And then by the time you actually get to Oath of Teferi, you're able to have 2 or 3 things out that you might want to profitably flicker. So I actually don't necessarily mind that it costs that much, especially with the second ability that powerful. And do note that Wrath is in this set, Wrath Compassion, and he's on color with this. So you go Wrath turn 4 at the end of your opponent's turn, and now you can play this Oath at instant speed, which I think makes it even better, in a way. Being able to flicker something on your opponent's turn is going to sometimes be important, especially during their combat step. You can block with one of your guys. If it's going to die, you can just flicker with Oath of Teferi, comes back into play at the end of their turn. So I think there's some really cool tech with this card, but again, 5 mana is kind of a lot. 5 mana is a lot. While I got the graphic up, I might as well go ahead and show you Tolarian Scholar. This is a new card from today. It's 3 mana, 2, and a blue for a 2/3 human wizard, and that is all it does. If you want a much more entertaining way of absorbing this card, just check out the professor at Tolarian Community College. This is actually his exclusive preview this season, and he puts 9 minutes of work into talking about this card, with skits and stuff, and it's really funny, and it's well produced, and you should check that out. But as far as, the actual card, it's 3 mana, 2/3. That's about it. As far as this cycle of possibly, really definitely, standard playable lands, we got to see 5 of them. They produce all 5 different colors. We see that happen a lot. And they all have characters from Magic's history on them memorialized in statues, and I think that's really cool. The red one is Memorial to War. It's the red land, enters the battlefield tapped like all of these do, taps for red. You can pay 4 and a red and tap it, sacrifice it to destroy target land. This one's got Corona on it. That's cool. The black one is Memorial to Folly. It enters the battlefield taps for black, and you can pay 2 and a black and tap it, and sacrifice it to return target creature from your graveyard to your hand. And this appears to have Gerard and Urza on it. That's interesting. There's Memorial to Unity. This is the green one. I think that this is supposed to be Eladamri depicted on this card. It's the green land. You tap it for green. It comes into play tapped, and you can pay 2 and a green and tap it. Sacrifice it to look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may reveal a creature card from among them, put that into your hand, put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. The white one is Memorial to Glory. It's got Gerard on it. Here's the battlefield taps for white. You can pay 3 a white and tap it, sack it to create 2 1/1 white soldier creature tokens. And finally, the blue one, Memorial to Genius, has Urza on it, and he looks awesome, and that appears to maybe be the Academy in the foreground, but in any case, it enters the battlefield taps for blue. You pay 4 a blue and tap it and sack it to draw 2 cards. Now, personally, these all look pretty hot to me. I'm not really sure how I feel about the red one. I think that may be the worst of a bunch. You're effectively, paying 6 mana. It costs 6 lands to destroy a land, which could sometimes be worth it, especially if you've been destroying lands throughout the rest of the game too. But I just don't think it's quite as powerful, especially at that cost, as these others. All of the rest of them look really good to me, though, honestly. Like Memorial to Genius, I think control decks from blue-white approach to blue-black control are going to love having a Blighted Cataract again, essentially. Even if they only play, one of these, which I think a lot of decks that want these are probably only going to play 1, maybe 2 max of these cards, especially while there are deserts and other colorless lands in the format and stuff like that. I think we just really don't have a whole lot of slots for stuff like this, but maybe 1 or 2 will find their way in, and I definitely could see Memorial to Genius being in control decks, again, as a 1 or 2 of. As far as the white one, I actually like this. This is a way to extend your board. It's uncounterable. It's a little board in a box against control and stuff. They have to do something about, this. They can't, deal with this with just 1 removal spell. I think there's a lot of really awesome stuff about Memorial to Glory, and it's one of the ones that I haven't seen too many people talking about. The green and black ones have gotten the most attention. That's kind of why I'm saving them for last, but I actually really, really like this in a deck that's just trying to, kind of go wide, and honestly, it's a pretty decent tool against control decks in general. But again, the black and green ones are receiving the most attention, and I can see why. Again, they're probably the best of the bunch, just sort of obviously. The black one is card advantage, which is pretty good. You get to choose whatever creature you want to bring back from your graveyard. This is good for a whole lot of decks. This is another one I wouldn't be surprised if blue-black control played, This is a little bit of a redundant effect with the Scarab God. You get your Torrential Gearhulk back even if you don't have your Scarab God out. That's kind of interesting, or if you just don't want to wait until next turn to get your Scarab God back, you go ahead and put it in your hand and cast it. So there's cool stuff you could do with it, even in a deck that doesn't play that many creatures, but in decks that do, this could definitely easily be a one-of. This is fantastic late-game value. Same thing with the green one. A 5-card dig is ridiculous. That's more than I would have expected from a land like this. That's pure power, man. A 5-card dig, pick up whatever creature you want, is a lot. Again, especially in the late game, when you're trying not to get bogged down, you're trying not to draw dead, you're trying not to draw lands, you really need gas. That 5-card dig is really big on turn 7 or 8 when the game has begun to extend. So both the black and green ones look insane to me. A cut above the rest, but that doesn't mean I don't like the other ones. We also got to see Two-Headed Giant today. This is an unleaked card as well. This is 4 mana, 2, a red, and a red for a 4/4 Giant Warrior. And whenever it attacks, you flip 2 coins. If both are heads, it gains double strike until end of turn. And if both are tails, it gains menace until end of turn. So this Two-Headed Giant is not from Foryis this time. At first I thought for a second, at very first glance, it was early in the morning and I was still bleary and stuff. I thought that they had maybe functionally reprinted Two-Headed Giant, but it turns out it's not even close to the original Two-Headed Giant at all. But it's a cool callback, and it's actually not a bad card. I don't think it's going to see standard play. It's really high variance. You can't count on it to do the thing you want it to do. Coin flipping is typically bad. A constructed environment where you want to control every aspect of what your deck does and can do and can expect to do. But in Limited, this looks fantastic. 4 mana, 4/4 is really good stats. It's slightly tough to cast because of the double red, but whatever. A 4 mana 4/4 is formidable in limited environments. That's good, and it's always going to at least do something good when it attacks. I feel it's kind of a flavor fail that it doesn't do anything when it blocks. I mean, it's still got 2 heads when it blocks. But on offense, this does something good every time. If you get both to come up heads, you know, then you essentially get double strike. That's a 4 mana dude that can deal 8 damage. That seems good enough right there. That's a really good potential. But if you get 2 tails, then it gains menace, which is really, that makes it really, really tough to block. And the flavor there is cool. As long as you can get both heads together, they come up with the same idea, essentially, then it does something cool, you know? Or if you just get a tails and a heads, you're still attacking with a 4 mana 4/4, and there's nothing wrong with that in limited. So I do like this a lot, but again, just in the limited environment. I don't think it's going anywhere in constructed. But here's my favorite and the last card of the day. This is Slyn Voda, the Rising Deep. It's 8 mana, 6 and 2 blue for an 8/8 legendary Leviathan with kicker, 1 and a blue. When Slyn Voda, the Rising Storm, or the Rising Deep, enters the battlefield, if it was kicked, return all creatures to their owner's hands except for merfolk, krakens, leviathans, octopuses, and serpents. Slyn Shady, I like this thing an awful lot. It too is an uncommon, legendary, crazy commander or brawl build around that I will definitely be trying out. Now I know that we don't have all of these creature types in standard right now. We do have a ton of merfolk, and this isn't the only Leviathan. There's also Aether's Quell Ancient, which is an interesting dig. Although, by the way, flavor failed. This doesn't save fish. And usually, I guess the idea would be that, like, fish are small, they get taken out with the tide anyway, but we do have Fleet Swallower in the format, which is a huge fish that could probably withstand this. But in any case, slight flavor fail on that end. But in Commander, this looks great. There's tons of different creature types of these that you could pull from and build something really fun. And even in Standard, again, we've got some options, plus we've got Metallic Mimic, and in a much more fun card to point out, Arcane Adaptation. This is what the Brawl deck is going to be all about, is getting Arcane Adaptation out somehow and taking advantage of it to just essentially get a one-sided board wipe when you can kick this into play. Also, quick point here, how many like giant sea creatures are there on Dominaria? Like, it's got to be the most treacherous ocean on any plane, you know. Not only do you have like this, the original Leviathan, Polar Kraken, there's been a couple of other Krakens, plus the original, what was it, Sea Serpent, you know, there's a ton of these on Dominaria, but you've also got like Merit Lage is lurking around somewhere under the icy depths. Like, don't go in the water in Dominaria is all I'm saying. But that's all previews for today, at least so far. I'll be back at you tomorrow. We'll be wrapping up preview week pretty soon here, but we've still got like over 50 cards or so from this set that we haven't seen, so there's still plenty to cover. So stick with the channel, subscribe if you're new, hit the bell for the notifications to make sure that you know when I upload new videos. Like this one if you liked it, that helps me out a lot. You can also follow me on Twitter at SBMTGDev, or throw me $1 on Patreon if you feel like it and you can afford the skrill. Just $1 a month is all I ask. I'll leave a link in the description down there. You can also check out my sponsor, TCG Player. They help out the channel, and they just happen to be the cheapest place that you can get any of these cards on pre-order right now. And most of the singles that have been previewed so far this season, you can already pre-order over there. So check out my buds over there at TCG Player, TCOG Player. They're good folks. Anyway, tapped out for now. Let me know how you felt about all these down there in the comments section. Have a good discussion about some of these. I'm really excited about Slyn. Slyn Shady looks great. But let me know how you felt about all this stuff, especially the lands. Interested in how you feel about these. I think these are standard playable. I think it's just a question of like how many we play. So get with me down there, and I'll catch you cats later. I'm Deb from The Place. Thanks for watching, my wizards. Spread love and be kind.